Hi, in this video I want to show you guys how to write expressions with exponents, all right? So let's take a look at, and we talked about this in the earlier videos. I have what's a better way to write 8 times 8 times 8 times 8 times 8 times 8 times 8. All right, even just saying it's difficult. So if you think about writing that out, generally speaking, mathematicians try to find more efficient, time-saving ways to do things. And the goal is to get you to think like a mathematician here. So when we write something like this out, what we do is we have two components to writing something to the power. And the first component is this thing called your base, all right? And the base is always your number that is getting repeated. So it's the number that's being repeated. So if you think about that and you look at this problem right here, which number is being repeated? Well, the number I see that's being repeated is 8. So we've got 8's being repeated right all along there. So our base, okay, and we'll write this in purple, our base is 8. Okay? Now your exponent is how many times are you repeating that base? So in other words, how many factors of 8 are there up there? And so if we look at that, and this is where we'll do the red, we've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 factors altogether. So your exponent's going to be 7. And so when you write this in your new form, right, you're going to take your 8, we'll leave it in the same color. You're going to take your 8, and your 8 here is your base. So the base always goes on the bottom. If you think of the base of something, it's always the bottom. And the base is always the larger of the two numbers physically. All right? So it always looks bigger on the paper. So your base is 8, and then when you write your exponent, you would write your 7 up to the right. And it's close enough to it so that you can see that it's attached to that, but it's up to the right. And so we call that a superscript, all right? But you don't need to worry about that. But your base is right here. That's your base. And then your exponent goes right there. Okay, so let's do a few of these. All right, here's some examples. If you want to ever pause the video and try these on your own, please go right ahead. So we've got x times x times x times x times x. So in this example, we have the same factor that we're multiplying by in all these times. So basically, we look at, okay, which one is the one that we're repeating? Well, we're repeating this. That's the factor. So that's going to be our base. So our base is going to be x. And then when you look at your exponent, it's how many times is that being repeated? Well, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, right? So you would write x to the 5th power. Okay, let's try another one. Pause the video if you want to try this on your own and then come on back. All right, so we're going to go with just black here, so I stop switching over all the time. So on this one, the base is the one that's repeating, so you've got 1/4. You've got that whole fraction that's repeating. So on fractions, you have to be a little tricky, because if you just go like this, if you just go 1/4 and then we say, okay, we've got 1, 2, 3 of them, and write it to the 3rd power like that, that is the same as just writing 1 to the 3rd over 4. And that is not what we want. Okay, what we want is we want this to be written in a way that the whole fraction is being raised to that power. So when you have fractions and you're raising them to a power of an exponent, then you are going to enclose the fraction into parentheses. You will also do the same thing with negative numbers, as you'll see in a moment. So this one, 1/4 to the 3rd, and that's all there is to it, and that's how you write it. I don't need that equal sign right there. Okay, next. Here we go. So now we're getting into a situation where we have more than one thing that's either being multiplied and repeated. So in this case, we're going to look at this and we're going to say, okay, how many different bases do we have? Well, we've got 2, and that's the only one there. All right, and then so I'm going to take that, I'm going to write my base. And because it's an exponent of 1, you don't have to write that down. Okay, next we're going to figure out we're multiplying this by the next thing. So we've got this 5 right here, and we've got this 5 right here. So I've got 5, and we're raising that to the second power because there's 2 of them. And then finally, we've got d once, d twice, and d 3 times. So we have d to the third. Generally speaking, when they have problems like this, they want you to simplify the numbers when they're like this. So we'll talk about kind of how to do that there, but I'm just going to show you. So this would be 2 times, and then you would just do 5 times 5. All right, that's just this part right here. So that would be 2 times 25, which gives you 50. So the answer to this one would be 50 d to the third power. All right, another one here. So if you look at this, we've got 3 numbers for 3 different candidates for bases here. We've got m's, we've got p's, and we've got -9s. So usually whenever you write these, always start with your numbers first. So we're going to go -9, and we're going to keep it inside the parentheses because that negative is important, and that is to the second power because there's 2 of them. Now we're going to do our m's. Usually when you do two variables right next to each other, always start with the variable that comes first in the alphabet. So you've got 1, 2, 3 m's. All right, and then let's look at our p's. So our p's, we've got 1, 2, 3. So we've got 2 -9s, 3 m's, 3 p's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different things. That works out. The last thing we might want to do is maybe simplify this -9 to the second power. That is -9 times -9. Negative times a negative gives you a positive. 9 times 9 gives you 81. So your answer would be 81 m to the third, p to the third. Last example. Sorry, I know this video is a little long, but it's important to show you a bunch of different things on this. So we've got, let's start with our numbers, all right, that are the same. So we've got 1/8 and 1/8, and that's it. And when we have 1/8, we're raising it to the second power because there are 2 of them. All right, now let's start with our x's because x comes before y in the alphabet. So I'm circling how many there are, and it looks like there are 4 of them. So you write your base down first. Put your exponent right up here. Now let's do the same thing with y. We've got 1, 2. So y squared. And then to simplify this further, 1/8 squared is the same as 1/8 times 1/8. Whenever you multiply fractions, you multiply the top times each other and the bottom times each other. So you have 1 times 1 over 8 times 8, which is just 1/64. So we're going to have 1/64 x to the 4th y squared. And this answer right here is what you are looking for. So that's it.